Hi. Do you know if you're facing a $95,000 retirement income gap? This financial prescription reveals your cure. Most high income professionals don't realize their retirement plans are quietly underfunded, sometimes by nearly six figures a year. It's like having a slow financial bleed that you never diagnosed. So, traditional 401ks and IRAs often fall short because we don't think about the taxes and the timing risk. But there's a smarter, proven way to do it. So, today I'm going to show you how to identify your gap, what I did for my own family, and the strategy that top professionals use to build predictable, tax-efficient retirement income and protect their lifestyle. So stay till the end and I'll show you how you can run your own numbers and check it out yourselves.
Hi, today we're going to be talking about solving for the retirement income gap. If you don't know what yours is, we're going to show you how to find that in a way that you can actually solve for it. So Americans are some of the worst savers in the developed world. 90% of households earning over $200,000 a year are chronically undersaving to preserve their current quality of life and retirement. And the top 10% of earners, they're saving on average about 10%, and they need to be saving triple that. So they need to be saving close to 35%. So the studies show that over 80% of consumers, before they buy anything or even go to talk to an advisor, are on Google doing searches on things including retirement. So today I thought I'd share some information that's readily out there online and how you can use it to figure out your own situation. So first, let's go to Fidelity, fidelity.com. Here's some guidelines, and they show where you should be by decade in savings, okay? This may seem a little bit vague, but just overall, if your household is making $200,000 a year, in your 40s, it says you should have already saved $800,000. So once they're 50, they should have saved 1.2 to 1.5 million. So how many people do you know that have actually done that? So let's go do something else online. Let's have some fun here. You may be watching this on a laptop. So if you want to get your phone or tablet out, try this yourself. Let's go to nerdwallet.com. So nerdwallet.com. and give you a chance to get there. Okay, so maybe you're already there, nerdwallet.com. I'm going to show you what to do. So you're going to click the menu. There may be lines on the top, but usually in the upper left corner. When you look at that, you're going to click on investing. Then you're going to scroll down to investing and retirement calculators. And then you're going to click on retirement calculator. And I'm just going to walk you through this. So your next screen is going to be getting past the disclosure. In the financial world, we always have to have a disclosure. So now you're going to scroll on down and go to the inputs. So what is NerdWallet? Well, it's the same idea Fidelity was talking about, but it's a little bit more specific to your numbers. And so what we want to know is, are we on track? Are we on track to save for retirement? So let's quickly go through the inputs. So what you're going to do is we're going to scroll down and we're going to do an example of a 45-year-old male. So let's type in 45 for their age, $200,000 for their pre-tax income or salaries. That's for their household. And they've got $300,000 in retirement savings. We're going to use $1,000 a month for savings in this example to keep it simple, and we're not going to include a company match, right? So we'll do $1,000 a month, and then we're going to go look for a return of income of 70%. So what that means is we're saying in retirement, we need 70% of the income that we have right now while we're working. So it's a good start. And you may say, well, I don't need that much, whatever. You can run your own numbers. We're starting with 70% is a good starting point. And you're going to see a number of around $9,500 a month. That's what the tool says they're going to need for monthly income at 70% of what they're making right now. So we started at 45 and we're saying, okay, at age 65, we need $9,500 a month. So we're going to look at this, not including Social Security or other retirement income, just keeping it simple. And then we're going to click on advanced details down here at the bottom. Okay, so we're going to keep the defaults in here on the advanced details, except we're going to use retirement age starting from 65 to 90. I'll show you why in a minute. So the rate of return while we're working averages 6%. We're going to leave that. When we retire, we use 5% because we should be a little bit more conservative. And then an inflation rate of 3% and an annual income increase of 2%. So as we're putting in the inputs in the tool, it's calculating what you'll have based on the numbers and, more importantly, what you'll need to live your lifestyle on 70% of the income that you're making now. So in this case, 1.478497, so $1.4 million, which sounds pretty good. Remember, we had $300,000 to start. Now we're at 1.478 million. Okay, and then you see what they're actually going to need is $4 million. So what does this mean? So what it means is that they've got a retirement income gap between what they'll have based on what they're doing and what they're going to need. So what's very interesting here is it actually shows you, one, when you're going to run out of money, age 72 over here on the lower left, and how much you need to be saving now for your money to last until age 90. So $6,063 per month is what they need to be saving until retirement at age 65. So based on the fact that they're only saving $1,000 a month, this is a pretty big stretch, don't you think? So your number is going to be different. You can adjust these numbers to be your specific example. You need to know this now, right now. So you can see that waiting to figure it out isn't going to help your future self. Waiting a year, waiting 2 years, maybe you haven't even started. The question is, figure out your number. So I've got a more detailed process that I do with clients, which is the financial x-ray, but this is a very good start to give you an idea of what the gap is, and we're going to talk about how we can fill that. So a lot of us have heard of the rule of 4%, but a lot of us have also probably heard that the rule of 4% is outdated. So I'm going to be conservative. I'm going to use a rule of 3%, and I'm going to take 3% of $1.5 million summary to see that I'm going to have $45,000 in retirement income. So think about that for a minute. This family is making $200,000 of income. We're shooting for 70%, and what we've got is $45,000. So that's nowhere near where we need to be. Okay, so again, we're using 3% to be conservative, and with uncertainty and inflation, that seems to make sense to go a little bit conservative here. So as we used for our example, we take a number of $200,000 of income. We said we wanted 70% net income level, which gives us $140,000 before taxes. We know that we already have $25,000 pulling off 3% of $1.5 million. Okay, so what's our gap? We've got 45. Our gap that we need is $95,000. So 95 plus 45 gives you 140K. So from age 65 to 90, we want to make it last. We want to have the same, similar retirement, 70% of our income. We need to find $95,000. So how are we going to fill that gap? How are you going to fill that gap? So the total gap in this example is $2.5 million. So break that down from age 65 to 90. We have a $95,000 gap, meaning if we don't find it, we have to reduce our lifestyle by $95,000 a year. Ouch, that really hurts. And this is not on a high salary. Remember, we're talking $200,000 a year. So it's not a high salary. So when we talk about leverage, you're probably already using it to buy your home. I ask people, why did you get a mortgage? They say, because I wanted more house than I had cash in the bank. You use leverage for buying a car, right? But did you know that you can actually use leverage for your retirement? Well, today I'm going to show you how you can do that. So the solution, and check it out, is through a tool that you can access called ILIA, the Interactive Learning Information Assistant. Okay, and you're going to go to www.kzfreedom.com. So there's information there that you can walk through. But today we want to run the numbers and show you how you can fill that $95,000 income gap in our example. So the plan is called Kaizen. What it gives you, besides the income, supplemental retirement, is the protection for your loved ones, as well as protection for you if you happen to get sick or have a chronic illness, potentially if you pass away. All this is wrapped up in one solution. So what you want to do is go to the quick results estimator. We're using age 45. And on the right, we can see that our estimated benefits are 60 to 90% higher than our conventional approach. Remember, we're using leverage. Just like your mortgage, it's like we're saying, how much more house can I buy if I'm using a mortgage, which is leverage? So in this case, because we're trying to close that retirement income gap quickly, we say we're going to put in $50,000 a year for 5 years only. We want to see what that's going to get for us. So when you go to the estimator, you can put in any numbers that you want, right? It's looking at, we're making 5 payments for this, but you may do it so that you can figure out, here's how much money I need, and then you backstep it and figure out what the money is that you put in. But in this case, for this example, for a 45-year-old, we're going to put in $50,000 per year for 5 years only and see what that's going to get for us. Okay, now here's where the leverage comes in. You're paying 5 years. See the yellow piggy banks? That's you. And the bank is making a contribution for the first 5 years. It's a match. It's not one-to-one, but they're putting in a match for the first 5 years. And then the bank is paying the entire amount for the last 5 years. See the green piggy banks? That is the bank. So you finished making your contributions in 5 years. Okay, they're contributing for 10 years. One of the things that people really like about this is it's not hard to make a plan for a 5-year plan. A lot of times we get tangled up in, I've got to do this for 20 years or I've got to do this for 30 years, and it's really hard to stay on track. We like this because you make 5 payments, the bank's making the first 5 payments, then they pay the whole thing for 5 years. That's your leverage. So you're saying, what does that look like? Well, what it means is that instead of you having only your $250,000, remember it's 50 times 5, that the bank is going to put in up to $722,000 for a total of $972,850. Okay, so hope that looks good, because when we talk about the bank, in this case, we're putting in $47,960 or up to that amount, and then they're paying the entire thing. So that entire thing is the 50,000 plus the 47 gives you 9610. Okay, so total amount that's working for you, you put in 250, and the total amount working for you with the bank's 722 here is $972,000. So you're probably thinking, okay, how does this work? Well, the leverage. When you got a mortgage, you had to go to the bank, you had to qualify, you had to jump through hoops. It has gotten more complicated. Last time I bought a house was quite some time ago, and it was, and I bought several houses in my life, but I know it's just gotten trickier and trickier. Lots of things, I shouldn't say tricky, but lots of things that you have to do, lots of paperwork that you have to support. This is different, okay? It's a very special loan based on what you're contributing and the policy itself. So there is no annual interest payments, there's no loan documents, there's no credit checks or personal guarantees. This does not show up on your credit balance because it's collateralized from the policy, okay? So we mentioned up to a 3-to-1 leverage. 5 annual payments you're leveraging by using the bank's money and borrowing at competitive rates. So we said no interest payments, no loan documents, no credit checks, no personal guarantees. The collateral is the policy, okay? We're going to get 3-to-1 leverage, 5 payments. We're using borrowed money, just like the banks, and we're competitive. Well, it is the banks, and competitive borrowing rates based on the volume of what we do. So now let's look at the benefits and distributions. This is the part that you're probably really curious about, because we started with, how do we fill that $95,000 income gap? So we've put in $50,000 times 5 years for a total of $250,000. You have an estimated return of 9.44%. Remember, this is tax-free. And the initial death benefit, net of the bank money, is $1.68 million tax-free for your beneficiaries. And then the estimated tax-free distribution between 65 and 90 is $96,000 per year. So remember, we were only looking for $95,000 before tax. So imagine that, $96,000 after tax, clearly a lot better. So here's the summary of what that looks like and how it compares to other options. Okay, so the top number here with the green circle is the estimated tax-free annual income, the $96,000. The second number is multiplying $96,000 from age 65 to 90, which gives you $2.5 million. Okay, the number on the bottom is the remaining tax-free death benefit at age 90. So imagine that we have taken the money out each year, roughly $96,000, for a total up to age 90 of $2.5 million. And then let's say that something happened and we passed away at age 90. Now there's still an additional $1.3 million in the policy. So your 250 has actually turned into, looks like $3.8 million. Seems like a pretty good investment, okay? So one point here is that it doesn't mean that there's nothing past the age of 90, but most people can't imagine living past the age of 90. I know that sounds strange, especially seeing the things that we see in the news, but most people can't imagine living past the age of 90. So when we look at the second option, I can do that too, but it's not using the leverage. The third column is an after-tax investment. Think of a trading account using cash and not a 401k. Okay, the fourth option is a tax-deferred investment like a 401k or a 403b. So look at the top line and how the numbers compare. We start at the top, we've got 96 tax-free, we've got 59 tax-free, we've got 41 that's got some taxes, and then we've got 52 that's got taxes involved in that, okay? So keep in mind that the last two options require taxes to be paid. I can't say that enough. Anybody that knows me knows I'm going to keep on harping on the taxes, but keep in mind that the last two options require that you're going to pay taxes. Also keep in mind that we don't know the tax rate's going to be. I've done entire presentations on that, and it's pretty scary. So note that the zeros under the yellow line mean that there's nothing left. right? So what that's saying is that there is no death benefit, right? We've used our money. There's no remaining money that's left to pass on to our beneficiaries by the time that we're 90 years old. So again, the $250,000 grew to be $2.5 million with $1.3 million in tax-free death benefit remaining for your beneficiaries at age 90. So I look at this and I say, I put in 250, and what I'm getting out of there by age 90 is, call it 2.5 plus 1.3, or $3.7 million on a $250,000 upfront investment. Okay, so back to our example. We've now found the missing $2.5 million to solve for the gap, and we did it in 5 years, right? It didn't take us 20 years. So here we're going to have to save $6,000 per month for 20 years. So imagine that, $6,000 per month for 20 years to get there. So that's $72,000 a year for 20 years, or $1.4 million. We're going to have to come up with $1.4 million to save versus $250,000 spread over 5 years. This is why I did it myself. I completed my first plan, and I'm into the middle of my second one. Think about how you can apply this for yourself, your spouse, even your adult children. There's a good amount of info that you can see at www.kzfreedom.com, including learning about how you can't get negative returns in the market. Pretty important right now. I'm getting lots of phone calls from people, and imagine that if the market has negative returns, if it's negative 10, negative 20, negative 30%, worst case scenario for us is we got a zero, because the floor is zero. And so we're not worried about losing money in the market with our Kaizen plans. Think about this as another layer or strategy to put on top of what you're already doing. We're not trying to say, take everything that you've done already or that's in the works and move it over here. We're just saying, add another layer, because in the end, it's not about the big pile of taxable money in your 401k, because guess what? That's all taxable. What it is about your income streams. And I don't know about you, but I want my income streams to be tax-free if I can possibly manage that. Now, obviously with Social Security, that's going to be taxable, but I want as many tax-free income streams as I can get. This is also why I've got my second one in play right now. So you can layer these, you can do it for yourself, you can do it for your spouse, like I said, and you can just keep laddering them to create more and more income streams. So are you ready to take control of your financial future? We talked a lot today and showed you a simple way to get a general guideline of your retirement income gap, and also a way that you can solve the gap with tax-free income. Even if you don't have a gap, this is a very interesting way to add another layer of income to your retirement. As I mentioned, I own 2 of these plans, and I know that for the company that created Kaizen, every employee, their entire employee team, has at least one plan. So it's worth 30 seconds to check it out and run your numbers in the estimator. That's all it takes. 30 seconds and you can solve your retirement income gap. So click on the code or go to www.kzfreedom.com to check it out for free. It'll be the best 30 seconds of your day and probably your year. Here's to your financial future. See you next week.